Hello, geography students. This is Mrs. Politsky, and I have your notes for Chapter 10, Section 2, The Histories of the Andes and the Mid-Latitude Countries of South America. So we're going to talk about something a little unusual. And in the country of Peru, there were once an ancient people known as the Nazcas. They happened to live kind of south of what is now present day Lima, Peru, kind of off to the southeast a little bit. But something that they did in ancient times is still kind of with us today, and that is these really unusual, scratched out outlines of animals and geometric shapes that, for the most part, are within the Peruvian desert, and they're called the Nazca lines because they're attributed back to the Nazca people. But these lines are so large that they can only be recognized from the sky. So if you were at the surface level, they are so enormous you wouldn't necessarily be able to fully identify what it is. But there's a lot of mystery surrounding this about, like, how could they have been able to etch these lines over acres upon acres of land without really seeing what the finished product would look like. And then you get people talking aliens. So it's a very unusual thing, and there are lots of different varieties, and today it's a big tourist draw to that part of Peru. The Incas, who were an ancient people that lived in the Andes near present-day Peru and Bolivia and such, they really had no written language, but they had a unique way of record keeping because they created a counting system known as quipu, which basically requires a variety of strings of various colors and a bunch of knots to keep track of the records. They also built a complex road system. The Incas were really into doing service projects, and every summer, probably within a period of time after crops were planted and before it was time to harvest, people would have to do a mandatory amount of time serving their ruler. And a lot of times they were sent to build roads. And if you can kind of see the photograph that's on the right hand side of the screen, this is what I would call like a switchback. Where it's a kind of a set of roads that kind of inches upwards to the top of a hilltop or a mountain peak. It's a really remarkable road system. It really connected the people as a result of that. And the Incas would send messengers down these roads and across the empire and kind of like in relay teams. And these messengers who were running and carrying messages would run upwards to 150 miles. I think that is by a team, not necessarily individually, in a day. That is pretty remarkable as far as being able to send messages to one part of the empire to the next. So, way to go, Incas. Ruins of their villages and buildings, their irrigation systems can also be seen today at an ancient site known as Machu Picchu, which is in Peru. It's kind of up in the Andes. Matter of fact, it's a little bit of a challenge to get there because the government of Peru is trying to protect the site because it is a World Heritage Site. It's kind of renowned for the fact that it has kind of an ancient past. But there's only a set number of people that are allowed to enter in. And getting to the site requires a lot of climbing and hiking. So it's not for everyone, so to speak. But the Inca in general were wealthy people. They had vast resources of gold and silver. And eventually they're going to be conquered by this guy. 1532, a fellow named Francisco Pizarro, who was kind of what I would call a conquistador. He's Spaniard. He landed in Peru with some of his conquistadors, his soldiers, and they set about trying to bring down the Inca Empire. It's going to take them a little time because they have to get acclimated to climbing in the mountains, so that took a little bit of time. But the Spaniards, for the most part, really had an advantage. I mean, when you talk about weaponry and the technology that they were bringing in. So the Inca were really no match for the Spanish artillery, the gunpowder. That certainly gave Pizarro a huge advantage. And they used the Inca road system to basically conquer the Inca capital in the year 1535. So Spain, for the most part, colonized Peru, Argentina, and Chile, and other parts of South America because of its great sources of wealth. And it was good for Spain until the people decided they wanted their independence. And then it's not going to be so good for Spain. So, early 1800s. Two South American revolutionary leaders who we've kind of mentioned before. We got Simon Bolivar, who's kind of linked a little bit with like Venezuela and such, and Jose de San Martin, probably linked more with Argentina, but they led a group of guerrillas who are basically freedom fighters who fought for their independence in kind of the 1820s or so. And so by the middle of the 1800s, many of the South American countries had become independent states. So way to go, guys. You are the founding fathers of South America. Probably more in recent times when we talk about the 20th century. Argentina during the 1940s elected General Juan Perón, who you see there in the military outfit here and also here smiling cheek to cheek, as president in 1946. He and his wife, Eva Perón, were very popular. They enacted a lot of economic reforms. I would say they were probably a little more liberal in their politics. Eva, for the most part, improved living conditions for the poor Argentine population, but she contracted cancer and died at the age of 33. Her husband, Juan Perón, would eventually be overthrown by his military in the year 1955. And I think he actually came back to power for a short period of time, kind of at the beginning of the 1960s, but again was ousted from power. In the 1970s, Chileans had elected a socialist leader named Salvador Allende, and he became their president. Kind of had, again, liberal reforms, taking land from the rich, giving it to the poor. Well, a few years later, people were getting fed up with it. And in 1973, there is going to be what we call a coup d'etat, which is a overthrowing of the government. But this time it was led by the military. And you see this man that's in this military uniform. His name was Augusto Pinochet. And he staged a coup, and it happened that, maybe Allende was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but he was assassinated. And Pinochet would lead Chile for the next 16 years as a dictatorship, but he was kind of brutal. He went after his rivals, and a lot of times they were imprisoned or beaten or worse yet, executed. So he does have the look of a dictator, by all means. In 2006, Michelle Bachelet is going to be elected as the first female president of Chile and is currently the United Nations rights chief. So she is a very busy woman. Also in 2007, Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner is going to become the first female president of Argentina. Thank you very much.